We are joined by one of the best up-and-coming writers in the game right now. He's at every single Kings game, putting out that great content. We are joined by Hunter Patterson, not to mention the streets are saying this man, as a writer, may have the sexiest voice in the game as well.
What's up, fellas? I appreciate y'all having me.
Hunter, I just got to say, Brendan was just in here. That pops up. You know what I mean? Brendan sees the comment. He puts it on social media to give everybody context. Hunter was on a pod with Brendan, and somebody said, man, why is his voice so sexy? You're scrolling through. Brendan, did he DM you and say, Hunter, you got people, I'm trying to talk Kings here. What's going on?
Not at all, bro. The first time I saw it was when I got the notification in my timeline, and it was a good laugh.
There you go. All right, enough funny business. Chris is cracking up over here. So Simone behind the glass. Let's start here, man. Before we turn the page to the Pelicans, last thoughts on the Warrior game and everything that you saw from the Kings. What was the main reason you think the Kings were able to take down the foe from the Bay Area and finally come up with a complete game?
I think it had a lot to do with Keegan and his aggressiveness on both sides. Obviously, Keon had a hell of a debut as far as playoffs go, so that was great to see for him. I almost feel like a sense of pride for Keon just because of what it's taken for him to get to this point in his career. But Keegan, I think the fact that he was 50% from the field, 8 for 13. I'm no math guy, but that's a really high percentage from three. Mm-hmm. So he just seemed to turn the corner a little bit. And I think it was cool to see that in comparison to how he started the postseason last year against the Warriors.
Hunter, I'm going to plug your article here. You can go over to The Athletic and read Hunter's piece, actually specifically on Keegan Murray. It's titled How Keegan Murray's Offseason Training with De'Aaron Fox Propelled the Kings Past the Warriors in the Play-In. And that's exactly what I want to ask you about, Hunter. How huge was Tuesday's performance for Keegan Murray in his stages of development here?
First off, appreciate you for that. But
always.
I think it was huge for him just to continue believing in himself in the postseason in those really high-pressure games, because last year there was a little bit of a learning curve. He was the only rookie last season who was starting on a playoff team, so there was more expectations for him than other guys in his class. But for him to be able to do what he did a couple nights ago, I think one of the telltale signs was just how proud De'Aaron was of him in the post-game presser. He seemed like De'Aaron's usually pretty stoic. He's like even kill guy. He's not too high or too low. And he cracked the biggest smile talking about Keegan and his progression. So I thought that was a great sign. And I think it bodes well for Keegan heading into tomorrow night.
Talking to Hunter Patterson of The Athletic. Hunter, all right, let's start talking Pelicans here. And we had started that when the segment kind of kicked off. What do the Kings need to do? I mean, the closest they've come is within 5. Everything else has essentially been a blowout. No Zion, but Brandon Ingram has been a problem. He might be on a minutes restriction. CJ McCollum has been a huge problem. If you are Mike Brown, what are the things that you feel like you can do differently the 6th time around?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely try to run them off the three-point line as much as possible. They're probably going to do pretty solid in the paint. Jonas Valanciunas is pretty serviceable as a big guy, and he seems to like that matchup with Domas. But you can't have CJ. I want to say he hit like 7 or 8 threes a couple weeks ago when they played. And Trey Murphy is now really comfortable in his role as a 3-and-D kind of guy. I expect BI to be extremely aggressive without Zion. So my biggest thing, I try to run him off the line and get him to get to your second line of defense, and then hopefully Domas can muster up a little bit of rim protection there. But it'll definitely be by committee, and I think just really prioritizing not letting them get comfortable from behind the three-point line.
Hunter, I'm curious. I mean, you've been around this team all season long. Do you feel like the Kings have to win on Friday for this season to even be remotely considered a success?
That's a tough one just because of the injuries they've had. And obviously losing Kevin, a starter, and then Malik, who's almost like a fringe starter, someone who closes games a lot for him. You don't want to make excuses by any means, but I think it is a huge game to win, and I wouldn't necessarily look at it as a letdown or disappointment per se, but I'm sure the fan base will be extremely disappointed and considering the fact that this would be the 6th time you've lost to a team
Right.
in one season, I could only imagine how let down the fan base would be.
Hunter Patterson, before we let you go, one more for you. We think there's probably an obvious answer here, but we're going to ask you anyway. You did an article, I believe, last season about the best drip. Who had the best drip out of the NBA guys? Who is your fashion MVP? I guess we can take it outside of the Kings. If you have 2, one with the Kings, one outside of it, who's got the drip? And you can tell the good people how I look at the games as well. If you want to tell them about my drip at the games, you can go ahead.
1,000%. Allen is he's got to be top
Crazy.
2 and not 2 as far as the media drip goes.
There you go.
got to give you your credit. I think Nikhil, I will go with like the other Alexander Walker outside of Shea.
Okay.
Well, Shea is a Gilgeous Alexander, but his cousin Nikhil, I think he dresses pretty well. He's pretty fly pulling up the games and whatnot. So Shea's cousin, I would say.
Do you know you had Shea? I asked you this question last year, and you had Shea.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I can't give him too much credit like
Back to back.
Yeah, he dresses well, but I couldn't go back years. His teammate, Jalen Williams, also they like can dress really well. So
it's got to be Malik on the Kings.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, loves to Kevin, but I wasn't really feeling that.
The camo, John.
I don't know what that was. It kind of reminded me of like my grandma's couch or something growing up. But Kev definitely has had some cool fits. But a couple of nights ago wasn't his best showing.
You got to take some swings, and sometimes you swing and miss. But Hunter, you're always
part of fashion. So
there you go.
Exactly.
Hunter's always hitting home runs. Be sure to check out his article and all of his other work on The Athletic. Follow him on social media as well. Hunter Patterson, thank you as always. We will talk to you soon.
Appreciate y'all.
Always.
When we return, continuing the conversation, also breaking down